Joanie Lamb has passed away, and I want to acknowledge that before anything else. Whatever you think about the decisions she made in her final years, she was a woman who gave decades of her life to Christian broadcasting. She co-built something with Marcus Lamb that reached millions of people around the world. And for that, we honor her memory. But here is the hard truth that we need to face together. The seeds she planted in her final years have now produced a harvest that nobody is going to enjoy. And it started immediately. According to sources, and this is being discussed by ministry insiders and commentators publicly, on the very day that Joanie died, Rachel Lamb and Doug Weiss had a confrontation.
There's going to be a shaking of who gets the power. And it's already begun. I'm going to tell you about something that took place yesterday. On the day that Joanie died, Rachel and Doug had, allegedly, and this is by sources that I cannot reveal, but in front of multiple witnesses, Rachel and Doug had an out. And I guess I want to say something. You go, Rachel. I didn't think I might find myself siding up with Rachel on something. But if there's one gal that's going to deal face-to-face, head up with Doug, it's probably Rachel. So apparently, something set them off. I don't know the details of like what became the problem, but there was an out loud upset between Rachel and Doug. Can you imagine what's going on now in everybody's mind? The house that Joanie...
Out loud, in front of multiple witnesses. Now think about the weight of that. Your mother is gone. The ministry is in mourning. The audience is in shock. And instead of a family uniting in grief, there is already a public argument between the stepfather and the daughter. One commentator who has been close...
Now let me tell you about what is fueling a significant part of this tension. The house. Joanie Lamb built a multi-million-dollar home in Dallas, a luxury estate, custom-built, recently completed. She had only been able to enjoy it for about a year before she passed. And here is the critical detail. According to sources, that home is not in Doug Weiss's name. It was left to the children. So you can imagine the energy in that house right now. Rachel and Rebecca reportedly want Doug out as fast as possible because that is their mother's home now. Her jewelry, her personal treasures, her precious belongings, all of it is there. And Doug Weiss, the man none of them truly wanted, is sitting in the middle of it. Now, Doug may have ideas of his own about what happens next. He may believe he still has a role at ministry now. He may think he and Pete are going to divide up some programming. But observers are saying his days on Daystar appear to be numbered. At EH2283 in the comments put it plainly with 538 likes. Joanie is no more. Doug should pack his bags and leave this family alone. Someone replied, he will not leave. It is time for collecting. And another replied back, I don't think he has any choice. Proof is out there that Jonathan is next in line. And at Carol Eichinger put it simply, Joanie was the only one who backed Doug. She is no longer here, so Doug needs to go away. That is the sentiment of a huge portion of the Daystar audience. Now here's a question that is haunting a lot of people who have been watching this situation closely, and I want to ask it carefully and fairly. On the night that Joanie died, Rachel and Rebecca were on set, live, and by multiple accounts, they were smiling, gleaming, happy, full of energy. The pearly whites were out, as one commentator described it. And that same night, their mother passed away. Now, I am not going to rush to judgment on that. Human beings compartmentalize in ways outsiders cannot fully understand. Television professionals are trained to perform under pressure. And grief is strange. It doesn't follow a script. But people are asking, what did they know? Were they also being kept in the dark about how serious Joanie's condition had become? Was Doug the one who knew the most about what was really happening with her health? And if so, did the daughters feel like they were excluded from their own mother's final moments? Because there is another layer to this that is even more painful. Jonathan and Susie, remember them? The ones who were fired, tracked, silenced, and exiled?
Susie had already said publicly, "We were down the road. We were not called. We were not given the chance to say goodbye." Jonathan, the son who stood for integrity when everybody else was going along to get along, was not called to his mother's bedside, not invited, not informed. One commentator told the story of a friend's estranged sister who came to her dying father's bedside, leaned down and said, "Dad, it's me. I'm here. Will you forgive me? I forgive you." And even in a coma, he wept. Peace was made. That opportunity appears to have been denied to Jonathan, and that is heartbreaking. Whatever disagreements existed, that was his mother, and no NDA, no board decision, no ministry politics should have stood between a son and his dying mother. CHWQ5E's comment was pinned and got 211 likes. What a shame that Joanie put her children in this situation, having them tell a partial truth to the audience. The board failed again and put her children in a position to deal with the fallout. It was the same thing they did when Jonathan was disappeared from being on air.
Now, here is where this story takes a significant historical turn, because documents have come to light, and some of these have been seen and reported on by the Roy's report, that show Marcus Lamb had clear and written intentions about the future of Daystar. Not once, twice. The first we already covered in a previous episode, the email from August 2021, where Marcus directed that if Joanie passed or retired, Jonathan Lamb would become the head of Daystar. Signed, dated, witnessed, sent to the board, down, and wrote it out. His instructions were clear. If anything happened to both him and Joanie, Jonathan Lamb would be elected president. Jonathan, because as Marcus wrote, he is the oldest, and that is in keeping with biblical principles. And here is the part that speaks volumes. When Marcus delivered these instructions to the family, Rachel got upset. She ran out of the room because Rachel wanted that position. And now, in 2026, Rachel reportedly wants to be the leader of Daystar. Marcus saw this coming. He addressed it. He put it in writing, twice, across more than 7 years. And yet here we are. At Nicole Williams 7253 said it straight. If Rachel leads Daystar, it is definitely done. 293 people agreed. And at Jones 436 observed, Daystar's slow death started several years ago. It will escalate now.
Now, let's talk about who actually controls Daystar from a legal standpoint, because this is where it gets complicated. Daystar is a 501c3, a registered nonprofit, and nonprofits are governed by boards. The board members we know are Arnold Torres, Tom Callender, and John Lynch. And right now, everyone is frozen because the loudest voice at the top of that family just went silent, and the board members are reportedly just as intimidated by Rachel as they were by Joanie. One commentator made a fascinating point. These board members went along with things that were done to Jonathan, things she described as incorrect, unjust, and unbiblical. They were under enormous pressure, and they watched what happened to Jonathan when he stood up. They weren't going to risk the same. But now, the dynamic has shifted. There is no Joanie to protect Doug. There is no Joanie to enforce the NDA. There is no Joanie to keep Rachel and Rebecca in line. The cracks that were always there, that were being held down, have been released. Marcus's 2014 letter also gave clear instructions about the network's future direction. He said get rid of table talk within a year and sell that airtime. He said outsource some departments. He said don't hire too many family members and friends. He said watch the TV outlets and cancel contracts that don't break even. He said keep the Lamb name. He literally said he hoped his girls would keep Lamb in their names so audiences could identify with them. And then he said something that I have to read to you because it is almost prophetic in hindsight. Remember that family is your first ministry and much more important than Daystar. Family is more important than Daystar. That is what Marcus said, and it is the exact opposite of what happened.
The comments across social media and YouTube on this story are raw and real. At Kelly Akers 4884 wrote something that got 428 likes and 46 replies. She said, Joanie Lamb will serve as an example to many, a warning to not stray from your first love. I have personally taken this tragedy to heart and asked God to reveal to me the places in my life that threaten my closeness to Him. She ended, how the mighty have fallen. That is somebody who watched this from the outside and let it be a mirror for their own life. That is wisdom. At Zubalu 14 said simply, Joanie created and left a big mess behind. 298 people agreed. At Carrie Austin put it plainly, I would kick Doug out. They don't have any loyalty to Doug. It was just Joanie that liked him around. So bye, Doug. And at 80s Forever Ever made an interesting comparison, saying the executive board needs to do a major overhaul. In the middle of all of this, Jonathan and Susie Lamb are reportedly resting, trusting, waiting on the Lord. One source close to them said they are surrounded by love and peace as much as is possible in this season. They are not fighting publicly. They are not making moves in the flesh. Friends and family are near, and they are simply trusting that God will fight this battle for them. And here is the thing about that. Every move Jonathan has made in this situation has been characterized by restraint and integrity. He didn't sign the NDA. He didn't post without approval. He didn't retaliate. He stood firm on his convictions about his mother's remarriage, not out of bitterness, but out of genuine biblical concern. And he paid an enormous price for it. The 2014 letter, the 2021 email, both name him. Both are in writing. Both were sent to the board. If there is any justice to be done here, and I believe God is a God of justice, Jonathan's name will be vindicated. Not because he engineered it, but because his father wrote it, God confirmed it, and truth is now coming to light. Let me bring this home today with Deuteronomy 30, which was actually read on Daystar recently, from Marcus Lamb's own Bible, with his own handwriting in the margins. I have set before you this day life and good, and death and evil. Choose life, that both you and your seed may live. Marcus left clues in the margins. He left letters in the records. He left a legacy in his children. And somewhere along the way, the choices that were made veered away from life and towards something else. This is not a story about one bad man named Doug Weiss. This is a story about what happens when grief clouds judgment, when pride refuses counsel, when a family platform becomes more important than the family itself, when the love of position replaces the fear of God. And now, an empire built over decades is shaking. A family is fractured. A man no one wanted is still in a house that isn't his. A son who should have been president is waiting on the Lord in exile. And daughters who smiled through the cameras are now fighting behind the scenes. Let this be a lesson for every single one of us. Not just leaders, not just ministers, all of us. Choose life. Honor your family. Listen to the warnings. Don't silence the Jonathans in your life just because they say what you don't want to hear. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to know what you believe should happen to Daystar now. Who should lead it? What should the board do? Can it be saved? Share this with someone who needs to see the full picture. Subscribe if you haven't already.
And as always, the truth will win. It always does. God bless you all. I'll see you next time.